Luke's gospel of the four gospels is the only one that records during the Passion of Jesus the fact that he sweated blood in the Garden of Gethsemane during his agony. And I've been reading this book. A parishioner gave it to me during Lent, called "What Christ Suffered: A Doctor's Journey Through the Passion," and it's written by Dr. Thomas McGovern, who looks at every aspect of Jesus and his suffering from a medical standpoint. In fact, his specialty is dermatology, which means that his opinion as to Jesus sweating blood really matters. He really goes into detail. So, first of all, can this actually happen? Can a person actually sweat blood? And the answer is yes. It's a condition called hematidrosis. And there's no real medical conclusion as to what causes this condition or even what is actually happening when this condition occurs. It's a rare thing, and there's some incorrect information about this condition. When I was in high school, I read the classic book, A Doctor at Calvary, which was written by Dr. Pierre Barbet, a French physician. And in that book, he writes that it would be quite painful to sweat blood from your skin, all those vessels and capillaries bursting. But in the newer book, which is recently written within the last couple of years, which is based off of modern science and understanding and research, Dr. McGovern points out that hematidrosis, as far as we can tell, sweating blood, isn't reported as being painful. And that sort of changed my perception of Jesus' passion. You know, I read A Doctor at Calvary when I was in high school, so 25 years ago, and for those 25 years, I thought that Jesus' agony in the garden was an extremely painful ordeal. But at least physically, and it turns out that it wasn't physically painful, at least not in the same way as I had thought. So, does that mean that Jesus' passion was any less horrific? Does that take away something from the sufferings of Christ? And the answer to that is no. And here's why. It turns out that every known treatment for hematidrosis, for sweating blood, involves abating our body's natural ability to produce epinephrine, which is adrenaline. And spikes in adrenaline are caused by stress, of course. They're caused by anxiety. It is our body's natural reaction to sort of kick into high gear to be able to do something that we normally couldn't do. You hear stories of mothers moving entire cars to get to their children pinned in an upside-down car. But Dr. McGovern, in the book, he links sweating blood to anxiety because of this. If the treatment is to reduce adrenaline, then it has to be linked to anxiety in some way. And so this is where Jesus' agony in the garden gets sort of personal for me, because I've never been shy about telling you that I suffer from anxiety, that I always had since I was a little boy, my whole life. And one of the symptoms of anxiety is the possibility of having a panic attack. And during a panic attack, your body releases a huge amount of epinephrine, of adrenaline, and you react as such. You start sweating immediately. You sweat through your clothes in just a matter of seconds. Your heart races. You struggle to breathe. You feel like you're having a heart attack. And to be honest, you feel like you're dying. The best way, though, to deal with a panic attack, other than being sedated, is to give your anxiety a direction. And what I mean by that is this: that when you're having a panic attack, there's no amount of positive thinking that you can possibly do that'll make that panic attack stop. It doesn't work that way. But if you give your anxiety a direction, that adrenaline dump can sort of abate and you make your way out of the panic attack. In other words, if you offer up your suffering, it is medically advisable or is medically proven that if you offer up your suffering in a moment of anxiety for something or someone else, if you direct that adrenaline to something good, then you can come out of a panic attack. And so this is sort of the background, which leads me to Dr. McGovern's hypothesis in this book. When you experience an adrenaline dump, if you've ever had one, you notice your skin gets cold and clammy, and you start to sweat. And this is because adrenaline redirects your blood to your brain and to your eyes, the things that you need to be able to combat whatever danger is headed your way, to help you deal with the threat. So your blood flow to your extremities is minimal, but your sweat pores are wide open. And in the case of Jesus, he experiences a huge adrenaline dump, realizing the crushing anxiety of his passion that he knows is coming. But when he accepts his fate, when he says, "Father, not my will, but your will be done," so when he accepts his will, the Father, then he's giving that anxiety a direction. All of that blood that was cut off during his adrenaline dump now comes flooding back to his skin so much that, well, it comes out of his open sweat pores. So, no, Jesus' agony in the garden was likely not physically painful, but in that garden, Jesus suffered from a panic attack so massive that it caused him to sweat blood. And to me, that's personal, and that's an even greater suffering than I ever thought before, because I've had panic attacks, and I've had anxiety so bad that I thought I was going to die, but I never sweated blood. And I've never redirected my suffering, offered my suffering up for someone so perfectly, so purely, and so lovingly that could even happen. But Jesus did. He redirected his anxiety into loving you so completely that the blood rushing back to his skin had nowhere else to go. He thought of you. He did this for you. And this is the week where we celebrate that love. So come to Holy Thursday Mass, come to the Good Friday service, come to the Easter Vigil, Stations of the Cross. Come and see how much God loves you. Experience this week, this Holy Week, with your eyes and your hearts open to the God who loves you, the God who gave his life for you.